Part 1. The Hook. In the winter of 1897, inside a crowded courtroom in West Virginia, a prosecutor did something completely insane. He pointed at the official evidence locker and based his entire murder case on a single witness. But this witness didn't have a pulse. She wasn't even in the room. Her name was Zona Heaster Shue, and she had been buried deep underground for weeks. This is the only time in modern legal history where a ghost's testimony was used to convict a killer and send him to prison for life. To the modern mind, it sounds like a campfire story, a trick of a grieving mother's mind. But the court transcripts are real, the autopsy reports are real, and what happened in those woods of Greenbrier County defies everything we know about the boundary between the living and the dead. Part 2. The Perfect Marriage. Our story begins a few months earlier, in October 1896. Zona Heaster was a young, vibrant woman living in a quiet, rural town. That was until a mysterious blacksmith named Erasmus Stribling Shue rode into town. Everyone called him Trout. He was handsome, charming, and quickly caught Zona's eye. Within just a few weeks, despite her mother Mary Jane's intense disapproval, they were married. Mary Jane didn't trust Trout. She felt a coldness behind his charming smile. But Zona was blinded by love, believing she had found her happily ever after. For 3 months, the newlyweds lived in a small log house near the blacksmith shop. Everything seemed peaceful on the surface, but behind closed doors, a dark storm was brewing. Then, on the 23rd of January 1897, a local boy was sent by Trout to the house to run an errand. When the boy walked through the door, he found Zona lying at the foot of the stairs. Her eyes were wide open, staring at the ceiling. She was completely cold, terrified. The boy ran to find Trout, who rushed home and immediately called the local doctor. By the time Dr. Knapp arrived, Trout had already done something highly unusual. He had already dressed his dead wife for her funeral. Part 3. The Suspicious Coroner. In the 19th century, rural autopsies were not like today. They were quick, often respectful of the family's grief. Trout had moved Zona's body to the bed, dressed her in a high-necked gown, and placed a heavy veil over her face. As Dr. Knapp tried to examine the body, Trout became intensely agitated. He cradled Zona's head, sobbing hysterically, refusing to let the doctor get close to her neck. Dr. Knapp, feeling uncomfortable and wanting to respect the husband's immense grief, cut the examination short. He listed the cause of death as everlasting pain and later changed it to childbirth complications. Zona was buried a few days later, but the strange behavior did not stop. At the funeral, Trout was obsessed with his wife's head. He placed a large rolled up scarf on one side of her neck and a pillow on the other, claiming it would help her rest easier. He also insisted on being the only one to carry the coffin. Everyone pitied the broken-hearted blacksmith, everyone except one person. Mary Jane Heaster, Zona's mother, knew this wasn't grief, it was a cover-up. After the funeral, Mary Jane took a color sheet from the coffin that Trout had insisted on placing inside. When she tried to wash it, the water turned a strange, bloody red. Mary Jane dropped to her knees and began to pray. She prayed for 4 days, begging for the truth. Part 4. The Visitation. On the fourth night, the prayers were answered in the most terrifying way possible. Mary Jane woke up to a sudden, freezing chill in her bedroom. The room filled with a strange light, and there, standing at the foot of her bed, was the spirit of her daughter, Zona. The ghost did not look peaceful. She looked desperate. Over the course of 4 consecutive nights, the manifestation returned, revealing a horrific secret. Zona's spirit told her mother that Trout was a violent, angry man who snapped on the night of her death. He had become enraged over a dinner she had prepared, flew into a rage, and attacked her. To prove her words, the ghost did something that made Mary Jane's blood run cold. The spirit turned its head completely backward, 180 degrees, until it was facing her spine. He broke my neck, spirit whispered, right at the first joint. Armed with this supernatural information, Mary Jane went straight to the local prosecutor, John Preston. Now, put yourself in Preston's shoes. A grieving mother walks into your office and asks you to reopen a murder case because a ghost told her what happened. Ordinarily, he would have laughed her out of the room, but Preston noticed something. Mary Jane's story was incredibly specific, and Dr. Knapp's medical report was dangerously vague. Part 5: The Exhumation. Prosecutor Preston ordered an exhumation of Zona's body. Trout Shue violently protested, claiming it would desecrate his wife's memory, but the law prevailed. A team of 3 doctors removed the coffin from the earth and opened it inside a local schoolhouse. Trout stood in the corner, confidently smirking, believing they would find nothing. The autopsy began. When the doctors removed the high-necked dress and the scarf, the room fell entirely silent. Zona's neck showed clear, dark bruising in the shape of human fingers. But when they examined the bones, the shock wave hit everyone present. Her windpipe had been crushed, and her neck was fractured exactly at the first vertebra. It was a precise match to the exact injury the ghost had described to Mary Jane. Shroud Shue was immediately arrested and charged with first-degree murder. As the police investigated his past, they uncovered an even darker truth. Zona wasn't his first wife. He had been married twice before. His first wife divorced him for extreme violence. His second wife died under mysterious circumstances less than a year into their marriage. Trout Shue was a serial predator. Part 6: The Trial and Cognitive Trap. The trial began in June 1897, and it became a national sensation. The prosecutor, knowing the jury would reject a ghost story, tried to focus only on the physical autopsy. But Trout's defense lawyer made a fatal tactical mistake. He thought he could make Mary Jane look completely crazy on the witness stand. He forced her to describe the ghost visitation in vivid detail, expecting the jury to laugh. But Mary Jane didn't flinch. She stood her ground, describing her daughter's broken neck with such raw, unshakable conviction that the entire courtroom felt a sudden, heavy chill. The defense's plan backfired beautifully. Instead of looking insane, Mary Jane looked like a mother who had been handed a direct message from justice itself. The jury deliberated for just 1 hour. They found Trout guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison, where he died 3 years later from an illness. Part 7: Outro. Today, near the cemetery in Greenbrier County, a historic state marker stands by the road. It reads, "The only known case in which testimony from a ghost helped convict a murderer." It reads, "The only known case in which testimony from a ghost helped convict a murderer." So, what really happened in that cold bedroom in 1897? Did a spirit truly cross the veil to name her killer? Or did a mother's deep intuition solve a crime that the world tried to bury? Perhaps some secrets are simply too heavy for the earth to keep.